Hey, welcome to the Book Click. My name is Tim. I am an indie author, and I like to do interviews with other indie authors out there to sort of help spread the word about their books so that people can maybe discover them, pick them up, and read them and love them. I think that would be great. So that's one of the things I like to do on here. And so today we're going to do an interview with, what is this idiot's name? Timothy K. Clark. Yeah, it's probably not going to be a great interview because he seems like kind of an idiot. But anyway, he's got a book out and it's called, what is it called? Oh, it's called Rise of the Dragonwitch. Not very original, but whatever. Actually, it's a pretty big book. This thing would be a heck of a doorstop. I mean, you could do like arm curls with this for exercise. So, you know, who has time to read that much anyway? So yeah, let's go ahead and jump in and interview Tim and see what he has to say, because it's probably not much. All right, Tim, let's hop to it. Give me some background details. Where you're from, what do you do for a living if it's not writing books? You know, the basics. Well, my name's Tim Clark, and I do internet marketing for a living. I've been doing it for like 20 years, helping digital companies grow and that sort of thing. But, you know, writing is one of my true passions. My other true passions is working on cars. Yeah, nobody cares about that. Really, seriously, nobody cares about cars. They want to hear about your book. Okay, that's fair. So yeah, that's what I like to do. I like to write. All right, let's get to why we're here. You've written a book called The Rise of the Dragonwitch. This book is already out, and what genre is it? Well, it's an epic fantasy adventure. It's the kind of book that I would want to read if I were reading a fantasy. Epic fantasy adventure, I see. Yeah, because nobody's ever done that before. I think, hasn't Tolkien and George R.R. Martin already covered all of that? Why do you need to cover it too? Well, this was just sort of my take on what would happen if somebody were taken from this world and thrown into a world like The Hobbit, or thrown into a world like Game of Thrones. Again, that's, would you survive if you were taken from our world and put into one of these fantasy worlds? Okay, tough guy, but would you survive? You're kind of old and flabby, and, I don't think you'd probably make it too long if you got thrown into one of these worlds. You'd be dead in a heartbeat, wouldn't you? Oh yeah, I'd probably be dead in the first 5 minutes I was there. I'd mouth off to somebody and whoosh, I'd be done. Okay, so you've kind of jumped into it a little bit, but what is sort of your synopsis of the book? What's it about, so that people have an idea of, whether or not they want to read this ridiculously thick book. Okay, so the main character of the book, and it's written from her perspective, she's sort of a spoiled college girl who is a bit sassy, and she's taken from her rich partying college life in Manhattan, and she's thrown into this world that's full of myths. Mythical cities, mythical creatures, almost anything you could think of that's come from our mythology is found on this world. And she's told that she's the chosen one, and she's tasked with training up, and that she's got to help a sort of a ragtag group of people from this world who are trying to stop this mad king. This mad king wants to wipe out all of the other different species, all of the people that are not like the humans. And he wants to take over and become the emperor. And he's got this mad plan that they want to try to stop. And she's not the one to do this. She's pretty much scared. She's anxious. She doesn't think she's the chosen one. And they try to convince her that she is. And she has to go on this wild adventure. And she has to sort of learn to survive. And not only survive, hopefully thrive. Fish out of water story. Sounds kind of boring. Anyway, so if you were to give one sentence that would cover the book, what would that one sentence be? The one sentence, I guess it would be a world of myths and a battle for survival. Really? It sounds kind of stupid. Yeah. All right, we'll go with it. So if someone were to pick up your book and read the first page, what do you hope will convince them to keep reading this trash? Well, like I said, it's written in first person. It's from Finley's perspective, and she is a sort of, I call her a recovering introvert. She doesn't really want to be around people, but she was also voted class clown, that kind of person. And so she's funny, she's sarcastic, she's spoiled, she's a little bit anxious, she's a little bit, scared to sort of figure out what it is that she wants to do with her life. And you get that feeling really from the jump. I mean, it starts right off as someone is tracking her down and trying to kidnap her. And she's pretty much being, kind of funny about it, how she ended up in this circumstance. And she's mad at other people when really a lot of the times, it's she that's to blame. So I think that when you first start reading it, it just hits the ground running, and you want to find out more, and you want to read more about her, and you want to find out what happens to her. What? Oh, yeah. Anyway, cool. Yeah. That sounds good. So anyway, the book cover. I actually really like the book cover. The cover's pretty cool. This is pretty much what people will judge a book by, of course. It's the first thing. It's the first thing that they see. What inspired the design, I guess? You worked with a book cover designer. What inspired your design? Okay, so for the book cover, I did work with the designer. I gave a lot of my own really poor Photoshop renderings of it. But I kind of wanted that dragon to be looking over the shoulder of our hero, and she's there and she's all cool, and she's she's definitely in control, and so you kind of want to say she's the Dragonwitch. But when you start reading the book, you're like, well, who is this? Who are we reading about now? Because this ain't her. And so I kind of wanted that thing that pulls you in, that looks very cinematic, that looks very exciting, I guess. And I think that came across in the cover. And so definitely was really exciting when we got that finished product. I was really happy with it. You done? Okay. Book buying is based on emotion. People pick up a book and they want to read that book. What kind of feelings do you hope your book stirs in people? They probably won't much from this book, but what do you really hope that they're going to get out of it emotionally from your book? Honestly, it's really that feeling of this could happen to me, and I'm sort of exploring this world with the main character. And even though it's a 20-year-old woman from college, a spoiled rich kid from college, you can sort of get into this book and get caught up in the world at the same time that she is. We're used to phones and technology and cars and everything like that, and I kind of wondered what it would be like to go back into a medieval world and have to experience those things, that excitement and that thrill and fear that would come from being thrown into this world. Almost every fantasy book, you sort of are just in the world, and they have to tell you about the politics, and they have to tell you about the land and the mythology and everything that's been going on. And I sort of wanted her to tell the story as she's discovering it. Hey, this happened to me, and oh my gosh, what is that? And that is that really it? Oh my gosh, you guys have dragons here? This is great. But everybody else is scared to death, and she didn't come from that world, so she's not as scared, because to her it's exciting. So anyway, I kind of wanted to have that emotional excitement that you would get from discovering the world with her. All right, so what kind of readers do you think are going to want to read this? Who's it going to resonate with? Because it sounds kind of nerdy, like a little bit geeky. Are only the geeks going to get this? I like to say that this book is for anyone who likes fantasy, likes epic fantasy and big adventures, for anybody who wants to sort of learn about fantasy. Maybe they want to dip their toes into reading fantasy. And another sort of niche market that this book might actually fill, a lot of women want to get their significant others, maybe the men in their lives, to read more. And I sort of wrote this as someone who, for someone who isn't into reading, who isn't into fantasy, and maybe wants to get started with it. I actually have not read 1,000 fantasy books, but I always wanted to write one. So the only way I was able to do it was to tell it from a modern person's first person perspective, so that they are getting launched into a fantasy world too. And they're laughing along with them, and then they're seeing the kind of horrors that can come along with fantasy, and sort of the, you know, the craziness and the things that you just totally don't expect. And so I think after somebody were to read Rise of the Dragonwitch, they may actually want to read other fantasy books. So, you know, pretty much it's for everybody who really enjoys a good adventure and wants to be entertained. One of the things that I think a lot of people have said so far is this would make a great movie, or this would make a great series. And so I kind of like that I think people would actually also want to see this as a show. So if you're into the Game of Thrones TV show, or if you're into watching all of the Lord of the Rings movies, this might be a great book for you too, to get introduced to fantasy. So yeah, the geeks, pretty much. Yeah, the nerds. Anyway, do you have any like tropes? I guess there are tropes in fantasy books. Does this one have any sort of things that people would look forward to and want to read about? Because, you know, since you don't really write a ton of fantasy, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. Actually, there are. It's not the traditional kind of like enemies to lovers kind of thing, although there's an aspect to that. A lot of it deals with found family. Finley, our main character, is not really crazy about her life on this world. Her father's always asking her to do things that she doesn't want to do, and telling her to shape up or ship out, figure out what you want to do with your life kind of thing. And her mother barely pays attention to her because she's a drunk. She's got friends that sort of take advantage of her and sort of hang out with her because she makes them laugh. But she gets to this world and she realizes these people are trying to do something really good. They're trying to save species. They're trying to prevent genocide and an emperor from taking over an entire continent. And she, you know, gets excited about that. So there's that found family aspect to this. There is a romance subplot to this that is sort of a slow burn. And there is a lot of twists and turns that, like I said, have that enemies to lover, more of lover to enemy vibe, or I don't know. You'd have to sort of read it to figure it out. Yeah, so like I said, you have no idea what you're doing. Anyway, what else can we talk about? So what personal experiences inspired you to write this book? How much of you is in the book? I'm pretty much, you know, sure that it has nothing to do with you because you're just a big lumbering fool. Right? Honestly, it was really hard for me as an old guy to write a college-age female main character. It was kind of tough for me to do, but a lot of the character, though, is sort of the same attitude that I have. Like, I was the class clown in school, and I'm also a bit of an introvert. I really can't stand being around people, but if I have to be around people, I'll probably tell you a lot of stupid jokes. I'll make you laugh, but then it takes me 3 days to recover afterwards. So yeah, there's a bit of me in this. But the character is... And another thing that the character has is, if you tell me I can't do something, oh my God, I will do it in a heartbeat. Tell me I can't get away with something and I will get away with it. And she has that attitude, but she also picks herself up off the ground maybe a little bit more than I do. She's got a little bit more of an attitude, a little bit more drive and determination than I do. And so there is a little bit of me in this. And one of the main characters too, his name is Braylor. He's the big lumbering idiot guy. He's got a bit of me in him as well. So yeah, I try to sprinkle a little bit of my personality in every story that I write, because they always say, write what you know, and I know me. I'm about the only person that'll listen to me. So, all right. So you probably haven't gotten any good feedback on this book because it kind of sounds terrible, but anything surprise you? Any of the bad recommendations that really shocked you and made you want to cry in a corner? Actually, there's been a lot of really good positive responses. I've got a couple of 5-star reviews. People have really enjoyed it. They say that it's funny. They say that it's, you know, an epic adventure that is also a great introduction to fantasy for people. And they say it's got twists and turns. And so, I mean, one of the reviews actually that I just recently received was when she says she gives up being the chosen one and she decides to choose what she's going to be. I really felt that one. That one actually hit home for me because I didn't even think about it that way. And it's one of the tropes that I actually hate in fantasy, which is the chosen one. And so I think that one really struck a chord because the book really delves a little bit into that chosen one idea and about how it really takes a lot of people helping you out, and it also takes a ton of luck for you to survive. All right, so this is getting way too long and you're kind of boring, but does this book have anything related to current events, anything that people might enjoy, like anything pop culture, anything that's going on that people might enjoy? Because, it's a long book. I doubt you're able to hold their interest for that long in something this ridiculously fat. Well, to be honest with you, today's political climate is a lot about, especially in our country, in the United States, it's a lot about demonizing people who are different. And on this world that Finley is taken to, there are people who can fly. There are people who were basically like our Neanderthals, but they continue to survive, and they became incredibly smart. They're still incredibly big and strong. So they're almost like our giants. There are people who evolved from the apes, who are very similar to primates on our world, but can walk and talk and are extremely smart. And this king that wants to become an emperor wants to wipe them out because they are different. He realizes that all of the people that are humans on this world are pretty much, they've been tired of being beaten down by the dragons and all of the mythical creatures that have been trying to kill them for generations. And they need somebody that's going to lead them, but they need a new person to fear. And so this king decides that all of the others are bad, and we're going to wipe them out. We're going to cease their existence. So yeah, there's definitely a political vibe to this. Oh, you're done. All right, so finally, let's wrap this up. How can people find your book? How can they support you? All of that business. The book is available on Amazon, but you can also get it through Barnes & Noble, Waterstones, outside of this country, Apple Books, Google, I think. It's pretty much available everywhere. But yeah, it's in ebook form and it's in paperback form, of course. As you've pointed out, it is rather large. With my book, it's like getting two books in one. It's a standalone book, and I could have written it into two books and made it, a series, but I kind of wanted to do just one book. And so it is pretty long, but it is nonstop action. It's just go, go, go. And so I'd love it if you can check it out. Hopefully, Tim, you can put a link in the description to the book. They can check it out. Even go to Amazon and read the sample. If you click on the link, you can read the sample. And I think it gives you like the first 11 chapters. So you can read as much as you possibly want. Find out if it's something that's right for you and if you want to keep checking it out further. But it's available wherever books are sold. If you just do a search for Rise of the Dragonwitch, it's out there. Yeah, what he said. It's I'll do the link, and you're probably on social media and all that, but nobody really cares about that. So yeah, if you can, check out his book. It seems okay. It's still ridiculously too long, but I'll put the link down in the description and you can go check it out. Whatever. Have a good one. More indie authors coming up on the channel. Give me a like. If you got anything out of this video, give me a comment down below, and that helps YouTube and Google see that people are interacting with it and they like it. Subscribe to the channel if you can. That always helps. That way, whenever we do more indie author interviews, and we'll do one better than with this clown. But whenever new ones come up, you'll be able to see them as they come up. So subscribe if you can. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we will catch you next time.